You know what I love about bookbinding? You just need simple tools to start, and even without them, you can improvise and find different solutions. So in this video, I'm going to show you the basic tools you would need, how to use them, and how to improvise if you don't have them. So I'm going to start with the background of all of my videos, the cutting mat. The cutting mat is the surface of my creation. It can absorb cuts, and you can also line up things on the surface and then cut them. It comes in various colors and various sizes. The one I use in my new setup is the A size. Okay, this is A. There's A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. This one is A3 size. I really recommend you to use one because it is a great tool to have. What I like about it is the grid. I have 1 centimeter grid and dots in 0.5 centimeter, and that really helps me line everything and calculate measurements. So that's a great tool. As you can see, I have this old cutting mat that I use for cutting circles and cutting rough things because I don't want to ruin my good working surface. This is the cutting mat I'm using for 30 years. So this is something to invest in, and you have it for years and years. I have around 9 different cutting mats because I make workshops and I take it around and I use, as you can see, for rough things. Another pro tip is to beware of putting something hot on your surface, because if you put something hot like a laptop or even the sunlight, it can heat up the material and it warps a bit and you can't do anything about it afterwards. So beware with laptops on your surface. Put it on a piece of wood, then you can work, and then move it aside. It would help tremendously. And if you don't have a cutting mat, to improvise, you can take a piece of linoleum, of course, a straight one, and then when you cut, it can absorb your cuts. Another option is just take chipboard to work on it. You can make the cuts, the knife would go inside, and once a while you can just flip it over or change your working surface. There are people that are using glass, but the glass is ruining the blade of your knife, so I don't recommend it so much. And I'm moving on to another tool I use and hold all the time, and it is the craft knife. I have 2 knives that I'm working with. The big one that is used for cutting chipboard or something that is quite thick and you need to hold it firmly to cut. And I use most of the time the small craft knife. Usually the craft knife comes with this angle of blade, and what I recommend you to do is change your blade to a 30-degree blade. It comes like this, and you can just open the end, take off the blade, and change it to the 30-degree one. And then close it back. What I discovered is that people don't know how to break a blade. What you do, you take the back side and there's a gap here. I'll take out the knife up until my mark here, and then I insert it inside, break it, and then close the lid, and you can go on and cut. What I like about the 30-degree blade, it can reach special places or difficult places, especially if you're making boxes. I'll move this aside, and before I move on to the next tool that I hold in my hand most of the day, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with an extensive library of classes for creators like you and me. Classes on art and illustrations, photography, graphic design, of course, bookbinding, and much more. I was very happy that Skillshare approached me with this sponsorship because I have great things to say about this platform. I actually started as a member. I wanted to expand my knowledge in videography and video production, and I discovered a platform full of quality content in so many subjects. It felt like an ocean of knowledge, and for me as a creator, it was a great discovery. And as a member, you can watch everything. Actually, inspired by those talented teachers, I became a teacher myself. In my beginner's class, Making a Hardcover Binding, I will take you step by step through the binding process with clear explanations and detailed shots to help you create your own special binding, emphasizing not only on the how, but also on the why. At the end of this class, you will have the skill and the knowledge to make your own special binding. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code here will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. I'll move on to the bone folder I'm holding in my hand, and I'm holding in my hand most of the day, and it comes in various shapes and sizes. The one I use the most is 6 inches and has a rounded side and a pointed side, but there are also bone folders that has only rounded side, and these are used mostly for folding paper. This allows the rounded side to fold paper and the pointed side to fold inside things, and these are used also for creasing. I want to show you, this is after 30 years of working. It changed its shape. When I'm creasing, I'm holding the ruler and the bone folder to it, and just it is cutting off years and years of creasing, and it has a special shape. There are also options of a Teflon bone folder. It comes in 2 sizes. The advantages of a Teflon bone folder is that the glue is not sticking to it, and you can just wipe it off. When you are binding and connecting papers and so on, you can just take it very easily off and nothing sticks to it. So that's nice. There are also plastic ones, and there are that are made from horn and from wood. And you can also improvise if you just fold the paper with your fingers and then with your fingernail, you can work with it. The bone folder is also used for varnishing. If you have a nice marbled paper, you can use the bone folder to varnish the paper. You just go on it with the bone folder and varnish the paper. And what I also have is pointed bone folders, and they are used to just reach very special areas. If I'm making a slipcase and I want to go just with a small flap and take it inside, you see I have one with a bit of an angle and a very small one that you can just do very delicate things. So again, you can improvise with the back of a spoon or with just a piece of wood or with your fingernails, but the bone folder, I think, is one of the most distinct things for a bookbinder to have. And again, I would recommend starting with a 6-inch pointed bone folder. I'll move this aside and talk about the awl. I have different kinds of awls. All have the same use. What's important about the awl is that it would have a pointed edge to make holes inside the signatures. I use a pre-marked template to know where the holes, and I use a paper clip to connect it to the signature. When piercing, I close the signature, and that allows the hole to be exactly in the fold. The awl I usually use is the awl number 4, but each and every one will do the work, and you can also improvise with a nail or with a push pin, and that would also make the trick. But I really recommend you to have one because it is a very nice thing to have in your bookbinder's toolset. I'll move my awls and talk about scissors. Any kind of scissors can work. It needs to be sharp, of course, and then you can use it for cutting thread, cutting paper, cutting the corners. I like to use the sewing scissors. You can clip everything and you can work with the small corners and cut thread. So that's what I use the most, and you can obviously see in my videos, but any kind of scissors you can work with. You don't need to buy something special for the bookbinding, just use what you have in your house. I'm moving on to my rulers. I usually work with 3 kinds of rulers. The long one around 50 or 60 centimeters, this is 20 inch. One around 30 centimeters. This one is 2 centimeter wide, and you can see in my videos that this acts as a measurement to just cut and trim 2 centimeters all around. And my 15 centimeter ruler, which is around 6 inches, and I use it all the time for my small measurements. What you need for your ruler is to be thick, okay? There are rulers today that are like paper, very thin. I would use and find a thick ruler like they used to make them in the old days. And then when you hold it and cut, it is strong enough and it's not lifting and not bending. So that's my recommendation for the rulers. Of course, you can use any ruler you have. Just another pro tip is use the measurements and the cutting with the same ruler, or make sure that all your rulers are in the same measurement, because they usually print the numbers, and I saw rulers that are not starting in 1 millimeter, they are starting in 2 or 3 millimeters. So you can actually see sometimes that not all of your rulers are starting in the same place. So when you take a measure, use the same ruler for the paper, for the cover, for everything, and then everything would be in the right size that you want. Because if you measure with this and then measure with this, something can change. Okay, I'll move on to my needles. I usually use straight needles number 18. What's special about the bookbinder's needle is that the eye of the needle is the same thickness as the needle itself. There is one with a sharp edge or with a bit of a dull edge. Okay, when you have a sharp edge, sometimes when you sew, it can just stick inside the signature and that could cause problems. And when you have a dull edge, after you pierce the holes with the awl, the needle knows where to go. Okay, there are bigger needles. This is number 15. So as you can see, the bigger the number, the smaller the needle. Okay, this is very big one. I use it just for workshop with the kids that are having trouble putting the thread inside the eye of the needle. And of course, you can take any brand. I use this English made by John James. And you have your curved needle. It comes like this. There are 2 sizes of curved needle. This is the smaller one. And you can see the eye of the needle is over here. Again, the same thickness, the needle itself and the eye of the needle. The curved needle is used mostly for exposed spine. If you're doing a Coptic stitch or a French link stitch, that could work nicely. I like to use the straight needle, and I have my trick, as you saw in my videos, how to catch it. Of course, I will add a list of everything I'm talking about in the description, so you can check there and see and choose what you want to buy, because sometimes it's overwhelming to see so many options and not to know what to decide. About thread, I usually use linen thread. It is very strong and durable. But if you want to know more about threads, watch this video next. It's talking about threads, the sizes, and everything about them. Thank you for watching and for being here, and I'll see you in my next video.